Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So, if you've been following me for a while, you would know that I really love archery. Like, I love it. Okay, I love shooting my bows. I really like going to the range. It's one of my big passions. And, I can tell whenever I first started, it was like a really exciting thing. But you got to realize something that we all have. So I decided to, I guess, do a little series for beginner archers to kind of get, some of the basic stuff. And I might do something a little more intricate whenever I'm talking about this. And it's going to be just like, one step at a time, just so that, we can, kind of clarify a few things. So this will be, I guess, the first in however many videos in regards to getting into archery, and this is the first step. So yes, finding a bow. Like, obviously, it's kind of important. If you're wanting to shoot a bow and arrow, you need a bow first. And, it's a little more complicated than that. You kind of have to do some research, but luckily, there are very, rather, shall I say, inexpensive choices in terms of bows you can get. Now, I highly recommend getting a 3-piece takedown bow. That's so that you can start out with the lowest poundage you can. Most of the bows that you find will be from 25 all the way up to 60 pounds. And, you can go up at 5-pound increments if you want, and it's really easy. You just kind of, once you get the lower poundage, which I believe is, 25, and, you just work on your technique. Make sure you get comfortable with it, because if you go too heavy starting out, you're going to probably lose some interest in it. So, you won't be able to pull it back because you'll be struggling, you'll be shaking, So you want to start out with a light poundage. And it's much easier to kind of just have that with a 3-piece takedown because you can just change out the limbs and you can go up the poundage if you want. And then eventually, you can, if you want to have like a fixed weight 1-piece bow and, kind of just go from there if you want to. But we're just going to start about, starting out. So in terms of the brands I would kind of recommend, I'm not sponsored by any of these. I buy these with my own money and just give my thoughts on them. And I would say the Samick Sage, which is the first bow that I ever bought. It's recurve, and it's actually pretty good for any kind of beginners. Like I said, I personally started out with just 25-pound draw. It was really not that bad. It was easy to manage and pretty much just working on technique. And then, as you progress on, you can, maybe build up a little bit of strength in your back muscles because that's what you want. You want good back tension. But it's good to start with the low poundage and just work on the technique, get the alignment, and then go up at a few pound increments. And there was a lot of things that I did with this bow. There's a lot of options you can have with this. There's bushings for sights if you want to, get into that. Now, this isn't particularly like what you would consider for like, Olympic recurve shooting. Those bows tend to be a lot longer than this, like at least 66 inches, I think, maybe 68. But this one here, is 62 inch, and also this is wood with some fiberglass laminations, whereas the Olympic recurves are usually just, you know, like aluminum riser usually and fiberglass limbs, and they would be ILF, which is International Limb Fitting. So they would fit literally any riser that is ILF, you know, international and all that. But we're just talking about the basics. So I would definitely recommend this bow. It's you know, easy to put together. You can actually screw it in with your hand like this, and you know, it's really easy to put together. And then all you have to worry about is kind of what you want to put there, and you know, if you want an elevated rest, or if you just want to have like, you know, a fur kind of rest. If you want to shoot traditional off the shelf here, you know, you can go ahead and have that, the side plate there, and then the fur on the shelf. And I definitely recommend getting, you know, bows with like a shelf on them. I wouldn't recommend, you know, going right for like the English longbow or, you know, any of the Asiatic styles, because that's something that's a little more advanced, and there's a little more things you have to worry about in terms of like archer's paradox. It's where, you know, obviously having a sight window like this, you don't really have much archer's paradox. This is obviously a modern type bow, and if you had like in a historical bow, you know, you'd actually have to shoot your arrow. It would have to go around the bow, and then, you know, it'll flex and then straighten out. But the archer's paradox is that, you know, you don't quite have the ability to aim it directly, so it's kind of a paradox for you. Like, okay, how do you aim, or what kind of calculations in terms of spine and all that? But again, that's more advanced stuff. But this one is pretty good for a beginner. But there's several other options, which I will go over, at least maybe just one other variation of the three-piece takedown. So while the Samick Sage has gotten a lot of people into archery, like traditional or even maybe, you know, Olympic style recurves, you know, of course, like I said, you know, the Samick Sage isn't really kind of designed for that, but it's something that you can kind of start out to get the basics with. But there's also other takedown bows, and you can even get some longbow as well. And now I shall move on to the other takedown bow. This is the Black Hunter, and this one's actually a little bit shorter than the Samick Sage. This one, as you can see, has a slightly different screw-in method for the limbs. You actually do have to use a tool, like a hex wrench or Allen wrench or whatever you call it, to actually tighten the bolts here. There's also the washer here, which keeps that all nice and secure and not, you know, scraping up against the metal when you tighten it all the way down. I will say, I've been getting to kind of prefer the look of this. I still think the Samick Sage looks nice, but this one just, I don't know. Like, it's more evenly distributed from the riser. It's just the fade. It just kind of has a better aesthetic, I think. And I'm sure a lot of other folks will agree, this looks like a much more elegant form. But yeah. And this one does come in a longbow version as well. I just decided to get the recurve because I personally prefer recurves. But you know, I might try the longbow version, and I do have a longbow, or rather a reflex deflex, and it's certainly not a long bow, but it's also not the style of longbow. It's not like D-shaped, it's reflexed and deflexed. But This is the Black Hunter recurve, and this one is actually a lot less expensive than the Samick Sage. Like, it's ridiculously inexpensive. I don't want to, like, again, I don't want to say like what the price was that I paid for it, because I don't want any other retailers to listen to this and try to up the price. I want to make sure you guys will get a good deal. I'm sure many of you probably already have bows and have probably been doing archery for a while, but just in case, these videos are just for people who are interested in getting into it. But I would say, in terms of starting out bows, Samick Sage is perfectly viable. There's also Lightning Archery, their recurves, and the Tachyon recurves, and Top Archery has some relatively inexpensive choices as well. But yeah, that's basically where you want to start. Yeah, so if you want to, like, if you're really on like a budget and you just want to do something, very basic, just shooting off the shelf, or maybe using a elevated rest, which you can stick on the Black Hunter and the Samick Sage, but that one's more designed for like, okay, you can put that over like the hole there, which again, I showed the bushings here. There's, the one for the sights, and then the one right there below the insignia is for the plunger button, and that's again for more advanced stuff, but that's what makes it more versatile. So if you are fixing on getting into that stuff, or if you just want to do basic traditional kind of stuff and you don't want to use like sights, you don't want to use any special you don't want to use anything like special, you want to just kind of have something that's like this, where you shoot off the shelf, and that's just as basic as you can possibly get. And this one, like I said, is way less expensive than the Samick Sage. So if you really just are confident that you just want to do traditional, shoot off the shelf, and you don't mind, not being able to put sights on it, I would say this is another viable option, and, on top of that, like I said, it's super less expensive. Like, it's, I'll just say that it's under $100 is what I paid for it. And so I hope that doesn't, do too much in terms of retailers trying to up the prices to try to make more money off of these. But yeah, these are perfectly viable options. So anyway, I hope you found that helpful. Thank you guys for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Consider following my social medias, as well as contribute to my Patreon. I still have not gotten any patrons on there, and I, usually I don't really like asking for charity or money, but let's just say I don't really have enough subscribers for a YouTube partnership where I can monetize things, and also I kind of don't really want to have you guys have to watch ads, so just so that I can keep the channel running and actually try to make a living off of this. The absolute lowest tier it's literally just $1 a month, and I would appreciate anything that you guys can give. Again, if you don't want to, that's fine, but it will help me a lot, and I would very much appreciate it. You will have your names in the credits as a thank you for supporting me on Patreon. So anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.